You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody! Frankenstein is coming to theaters. Is coming to, like, you know what, titles with the word I in it confuse my grammar so much.
Frankenstein am coming to, wait, no.
What? Anyway, that movie's coming in theaters, and you know what that means.
We're going grave digging again?
In a way, actually. Because it's another episode of Don't F With the Original, the show where we take sequels and remakes and decide, hey, what was that based on?
Pretty much.
And in this case, that gives us an occasion to review James Whale's original Frankenstein from 1931.
Yes, before color existed.
Yes, before color existed. Back then, we were all very confused about what we were wearing.
Yep.
I almost wanted to wait because they are coming with another Frankenstein movie in 2015, just called Frankenstein. I don't know a lot about it, but based on the trailer and title of Frankenstein, I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit more serious.
Yeah, hopefully. It cannot be less serious, that's for sure.
Yeah. So there's a part of me that went like, we should probably wait. Then I rewatched the trailer of Frankenstein. It's like, no, we need to talk about this.
Yes.
We really need to talk about this.
Oh my god, we need to.
So here's how it's gonna go, folks. We're gonna talk about Frankenstein with spoilers. It's such an old classic. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna pretend that you don't already know how it ends.
Yeah.
Come on now. And then we're going to give pretty much of a full review on the trailer of Frankenstein because, oh my god, people, you need to watch this.
Yes.
Not the movie.
The trailer.
The trailer.
Yeah. The trailer is free. Watch the trailer. Don't give any money to people who made this movie. It's ridiculous.
Hey, look, I haven't seen it. Maybe it's extraordinary. I don't know, but
yeah.
Watch the trailer, you'll see what we mean.
Pretty much.
Alright, so James Whale's Frankenstein, based on the Mary Shelley novel, very, very loosely.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't read the book, so I'm going to have to rely on you for that.
We'll get to that a little bit, but the sequels are actually more faithful to it.
Okay.
Mad inventor Frankenstein wants to create life. He wants to create another human being, so he goes grave digging and asks his assistant Fritz to grab brain. Fritz is a moron, so grabs the brain of a moron.
Yeah.
He grabs the right brain first, like a normal brain, and then drops it for no reason.
He hears a noise, because every time I hear a noise, I drop everything I have in my hand, That's a normal reflex for me,
Yeah, and then grabs the abnormal brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it creates a monster. It creates a very weird creature played by Boris Karloff, the legendary Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
And then Frankenstein's wife and his friend convince him that what he's doing is wrong, so he tries to imprison the beast that he created. The beast eventually escapes, and all hell breaks loose for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
about it. It's really 10 minutes.
So that's a story in a jiffy, I guess.
Yeah.
What did you think of the classic 1931 Frankenstein?
I guess in those times, movies, the people were not as picky towards plot holes as there, because this movie to me made almost no sense. It almost felt like a jump from one style to another. It assumed certain things that you went directly, For example, at one point, Frankenstein holds a girl and throws her in like knee-deep water.
Yeah.
And next thing after, she drowned. You're like, what do you mean she drowned? How the hell do you drown in knee-deep water?
In fairness, I would feel very uncomfortable with a film production crew throwing a real girl into deep water.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I guess in the 31, okay, it was good enough, to see you throw the girl in water. Okay, she drowned. That's good. And for some reason, the father knows that it's a monster that did it. It is really weird.
Yes, like... That's the like a lot of the criticisms you have. I'll get into a little bit of a history of the arts lesson and it will explain a lot of the problems you have with them. It's a thing with the times.
All right.
But that one, the one where the father somehow magically knows that it was a Frankenstein monster that did it.
Yeah.
It's like, how hard would it have been for James Whale to just insert one shot of the father coming home and seeing the monster pass by.
Yeah.
That would have solved it.
I know. Maybe he just read the script and he knew. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Scientifically, I found it hilarious when, the doctor said he found, like, rays more energetic than ultraviolets. I was like, yes, those are called, X-rays and gamma rays. Everybody knows about those. And they're very, very harmful to life, actually. So, the reason why, the dentist goes into another room to take a picture of an X-ray of your teeth, it's not because the system is poorly made. It's for his safety, is the thing.
Well, yeah, no, of course it's for his safety. And you're like, well, aren't I in danger in that case? Like, no, because you don't do it all day long.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much. But, so, yeah. How you bring in life, with X-rays and, that's kind of stuff, that's just weird to me. But okay, whatever. I'll grant it. Science in the 30s. Or I guess science when the times that she wrote the novel.
That's it. I think that's more that.
She didn't know better. But, it's like, okay.
Look, it's part of the premise. That's the sort of thing you got to run with.
I'll go with it. It's just so many things that seem so out of place, like Fritz.
Yeah.
He he has his weird hunchback assistant.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he goes back to his regular life and regular town and everything's normal. And he's like, where the hell did you find your hunchback from? Seriously. It's
there are
weird.
hunchbacks everywhere. It's not like hunchbacks live in separate communities.
Yeah, no, but still, it's like you think it's going to be such a weird movie because of that, in the ambiance. He lives in this old mill and all of a sudden he goes back to town and it looks like, almost a regular movie from that era where they're just talking and, it's like, oh, we're getting married and it's great. And it's no longer like a horror type movie with the monster all of a sudden. It's like, this is weird. You're just jumping from one to the other, and then the lynch mob is like, pick a genre and stay to it.
This is 1931. We're just coming into sound.
I guess
the silent movie, and you can feel it. It's filmed very much like a silent movie. Boris Karloff's acting is very, very gesticular.
Yeah.
And it's because this was before people relied on their voices to convey information. The same thing with the actor who plays Frankenstein. Yes, because the monster's not Frankenstein, people. It's... I'll save it for the trailer talk. But... So the acting's really over the top. You didn't comment that being a negative, which I'm happy you didn't, because look, it's acting of the time.
Yeah.
But as for the sleight of hand storytelling and the plot holes, I want to address that. We are coming out into their first talkies. If you've seen silent movies, Charlie Chaplin and whatnot, you know that there's a certain cartoony quality about them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there was German expressionism, Metropolis, for people who have seen that science fiction movie.
Okay.
And in theater, we are close to the vaudeville era. So the idea at the time was to convey the story approximately, convey the emotion of the story more than sort of the way we treat history, more than the recorded facts of the history of the story. And you can see that in every detail, some that will not have bothered you, but you might have noticed that the sets are very unlikely. Like his tower at some point, he puts the monster into a dungeon cell.
Yeah.
And you see in the background of the dungeon cell this sort of long mine corridor, and I'm like how long is that cell in that tower? But that was a thing of the time, and when it's scary, all the design is crooked, like all the pillars are crooked. Again, like who builds a tower like that? Nobody. But it's because it conveys an emotion. It doesn't matter that it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And so it's sort of the same thing. So when the monster throws a little girl into shallow water, he throws a girl into water. The details of it don't really matter. It's
I guess.
I guess. It's just how they were made at the time, these movies.
Yeah.
His acting in that scene, though, is fantastic. Boris Karloff. Like, his monstrous delight at the flower and the hint, because we all know the story of Frankenstein, so we expect him to be sort of get the short end of the stick, but in this movie, he doesn't. He's a monster.
Yeah.
He kills Fritz. Okay, Fritz sort of asks for it. Pretty
much.
Like, there's no sign in the movie that this is a gentle creature. This is the first time we get to see any sign of him having a gentle side, and then he kills a girl like 5 seconds later.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that one scene, that one close-up of him smiling at the flower is powerful enough for us to remember this creature could have been gentle.
Yeah. But I think they explain that he has the brain of a criminal.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, okay, I think that theory got dispelled as well. Criminals have different brains than regular people. Okay, it's whatever.
And it's not like he has the brain of a criminal, so he acts like a criminal. He has the brain of a criminal, so he acts like a complete lunatic monster. Like,
Yeah.
So
I guess
it's not an
Yeah.
exact science. Like,
Yeah.
because honestly, the way the movie's set up, it's entirely possible that even with a normal brain, he would have turned out the same way.
That's true. Yes, which makes the scene about the brain dropping thing completely useless. He's just making Fritz a dumb fumbler for no reason. I guess that added a minute to the movie or so.
Which is a runtime of barely an hour and 10 minutes, by the way.
Yeah.
This is a very short movie.
That's true. I guess they were shorter back then as well.
Yeah. No, I think it sheds doubt as to what's going on with the monster, and that doubt is sort of necessary.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of issues of duality in this movie, which is another thing I want to address that you said, like the shifting in styles. And you're right, like it is jarring. Suddenly it's like, Frankenstein goes like, yeah, I'm done creating monsters. I want to get married and be a happy, responsible person. And then the movie turns into like Gone with the Wind.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It was even his way of acting. He was in a tower. He was like, oh, my experiment and everything. All of a sudden, yeah, I'm cool now. Let's get married. I love you. Okay.
But I would argue that that's intentional. And that the idea here, again, we're talking about Impressionism, so everything is more about conveying an emotion than conveying facts, if you will.
Okay.
And the idea is to show how torn Frankenstein is, because like the movie's called Frankenstein, not Frankenstein's monster. And it's to show how torn he is between the responsible, normal life, the conventional life,
Yeah.
and the life of a mad scientist, if you will, his mad ambitions that defy God, which in 1931 was a bigger deal than it is now,
Yeah.
And so when he's sinful, defying God, everything's dark and everything's crooked and weird. And the other life he's torn in between is the one with his wife, and then everything's beautiful. The conformist life leads you to internal bliss and happiness and light and whatnot.
Interesting. All right.
Because the movie's really about him. It's not about the monster. The monster's barely there.
Yeah, it's called Frankenstein for a reason.
Yeah.
I could see it.
I guess it could have been clearer if it were called I, Frankenstein, but...
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, there's one sleight of hand that's absolutely fascinating to watch. The father comes in with his dead daughter.
Yeah.
He walks into the middle of a party.
I know.
In the middle of a German party. And everybody sort of turns around as they do it, and then they follow him, presumably because they're curious what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And as he walks, they shift from curious to angry, which there's a dead kid, you understand why.
Yeah.
And then from angry to requiring justice for the murder, even though nobody actually told them it was a murder at this point.
Yeah.
And then they're all like, let's kill Frankenstein's monster. And you're like, how did you know the monster did it?
Yeah.
Like even if the farmer dude knows it, he hasn't said it yet.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's how the story is told back then. But the transition, the emotional transition itself, in just one parade, essentially.
Parade, that's terrible. Parade that's led by a dead girl carried by her father. Worst parade ever.
Should have seen the floats that came after that. But that transition is fascinating, sort of on a cinematic level.
Okay.
And I think James Whale is a celebrated director now, or well-remembered director now, for things like that. That's really fascinating in terms of how he gets us from one emotion to the other without it making logical sense, really. He's skipping beats.
Yeah.
But he's skipping beats in a way that emotionally doesn't matter.
Okay. That makes sense. More emotion than story.
One of the characters that's fascinating as well. It's like, because the dialogue is so theatrical.
Yeah, I know. Nobody talks like that.
Yeah. The one that's most fascinating is the father character.
Yeah.
Because he's really, he keeps digressing. He keeps like, oh, the kids are times, and blah, blah, blah. And he keeps using this witticism and having these conversations that belong in a play, They belong in a play while people are changing in their costumes. There's this clown entertaining you with his random comments about stuff that nobody cares about,
I guess that would make sense in his role in the movie as well. Yeah.
But it's sort of like, what are you doing in a movie? And I understand that at the time they hadn't figured out that you don't need this character anymore in a movie because there's nobody changing costumes behind.
And even if there's people changing costume, you can pause the camera and record afterwards.
Yeah, you can. No, that's
Yeah.
what I mean by there's nobody changing
Yeah,
costumes
okay.
behind. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
exactly. But they still have him, and he's there wasting your time for like 5 minutes with things that have nothing to do with the story.
That is true. I don't know. I thought he was there to, I don't know, like, he organized the party, and then when the mob comes, it was like, okay, he organizes the hunt for Frankenstein's monster. So he's kind of, the guy that leads the group, kind of like the guy at the theater that, makes sure the crowd, follows what he.
Yeah, I guess no, he does serve that purpose as well. You make a good point. It's true. Certainly at the end, he serves that purpose where he sort of like shows up and gives you the moral of the story because it's not obvious. You do see a dichotomy between what Frankenstein wants to do personally and what society he should conform to. Because conformity back then was the thing to do. I know, like today, conformity is the thing you reject, but you have to understand, in 1931, conformity good.
Yeah. He comes out and, Frankenstein's in bed and he basically ends the movie. The movie ends with him and not any of the other main characters in the movie. It's just weird.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll toast to a son to the Frankenstein house. And what he's saying essentially is he'll toast to Frankenstein getting back to living at the Frankenstein house instead of his Tower of Madness.
Yeah.
And having children and a family doing the conformist thing.
So you were talking about the difference between the movie and the book. I mean, as talking about the book, what exactly you think is missing? Or
okay, well, there's no Fritz. First of all.
Okay. Yes, that character was completely pointless.
Yeah, and before anyone writes us, the Hunchback is called Fritz in the first movie. It's in the third movie that he gets a new Hunchback called Igor, but before that he was called Fritz.
Yeah, I was looking on IMDb to find the name of the. It's like I couldn't find Igor. I find it weird because I wanted to know who the actor was. But it's like, yeah, Fritz, and like that is so not a Hunchback name. I'm sorry.
What's funny is also, like how when we in cartoons and in whatever, because like now I'm just getting into factoids because they're fun.
Yeah.
When you do the Monster of Frankenstein, he always has his arms in front of him.
Yeah.
Walking. You'll notice that in 1931 Frankenstein, he never does that.
No, he does not do that.
Yeah. Boris Karloff, in fact, never did that. It's only in the fifth movie where Frankenstein was being played by Bela Lugosi that Bela Lugosi did that. Frankenstein's monster was supposed to have lost his sight. So he was moving with his hands forward because he could not see.
Interesting.
Yeah, but they removed that plot line, but kept the performance, so Frankenstein's monster walks with his hands in front of him for no reason. Interesting.
I thought it was just an actor's choice, and that's the one they remember. Everybody remembers is his hands like that. That's weird. That's interesting factoid, actually. Yeah, because I was wondering, I know he had his hand like that when he was trying to, choke Fritz because he had fire, but besides that, yeah, you don't really see him like that at all,
But yeah, so back to your original question in terms of the differences of the movie. The movie eventually has the Frankenstein's monster meeting a blind person. That doesn't happen in the movies until Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay.
The monster of Frankenstein is a bit smarter. Here, he's just a beast.
Okay.
In the book, he's a little bit more thought out. In fact, coerces Frankenstein into building him a wife.
Nice.
And then it takes too long, so he gets pissed off and kills Frankenstein's wife.
Oh, that's terrible.
They've altered that in Bride of Frankenstein, but they touch on that storyline very heavily in Bride of Frankenstein. Frankenstein is a bastard in the books. He's not a good man at all.
Okay.
Whereas in this incarnation, he's torn. He has two personalities.
When he's in Gone with the Wind, he's perfectly fine. He's very kind to his wife. He's perfectly normal. Whereas he's a little kooky he's a little kooky when he's working in his abandoned windmill, which was so weird to me to see the switch turn on and off. It's like, kooky, I'm normal now. It's like,
it really is.
Wow. And Frankenstein is just one novel, and they basically cut it up into like many, many movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, by the time you reach Son of Frankenstein, they're just creating their own stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I would say a good adaptation of the novel would be to see Frankenstein followed by Bride of Frankenstein. I think that's close enough to the novel, the two of them together, to say, okay, well, that's what it is.
Where does young Frankenstein fit in all of this?
Young Frankenstein. Okay, well, so final verdict.
You should watch it. Especially with an understanding of movies from that time. It's probably very, very good. I had no understanding whatsoever of how movies work that way. I just watch it as a regular movie from the 90s or the aughts. And I still liked it. It's very well filmed, and it's beautiful shots. Even if you think black and white, it's going to look terrible, but they're very, very beautiful shots, very often. So yeah, I would totally watch it.
Yeah, I disagree with you saying that black and white you'd expect crap. I think I think black and white allows you a very different color spectrum. Obviously,
Well, yeah, not crap. But not as you don't expect those beautiful. You don't look at it for
But that's where I
Okay.
disagree with you. I
Okay.
think it offers you a very different type of beauty because you can play with shadows a lot more.
Okay.
You can,
That makes sense.
And I think a movie like James Whale's Frankenstein proves it.
Okay.
I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
Well, it did change my mind, I guess, about the black and white thing. You can really do beautiful things with that.
Yeah, and I would argue that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do that exact same thing with color.
Okay.
I think it is beautiful because of its black and white. Certainly at the time. I mean, like the makeup looks great.
Yeah, I'm sure in color you could actually see that it looks completely fake.
Yeah.
But yeah, in black and white, I could totally see that.
So I like it. I think it has this sort of nice theatrical quality of it. And I think there is a genuine character study at the heart of it. Frankenstein, yes, it's pro-establishment propaganda. And in today's culture, it's a little bit like, really now? But you know what? It was made back then. And frankly, I don't think it's a message that's that out of place. So
Yeah.
I would heartily recommend it to people, not just to watch a classic and say you've seen a classic and understand film history, but no, as a genuine piece of entertainment.
Okay.
And if anything, you will laugh your head off when the movie begins with a guy telling you how spooky the movie is.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yes, the guy would lose his mind watching Saw, I guess. Different times, man.
Different times. But no, I actually like the movie, but I have to say that I like Bride of Frankenstein a lot more. It's closer to the source material, but also I find that the monster is a more interesting character than Frankenstein himself, and Bride of Frankenstein divides the story more equally between the monster and Frankenstein, and that makes it a better movie.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
All right, then. The question that I would normally ask you is if you think I, Frankenstein, F with the original.
Oh my god, you just need to watch the trailer once and come on.
It didn't just F with the original. It gangbanged it for 8 hours.
Oh my god. That trailer is something else. I'm not even just comparing it to Frankenstein. Just it looks like the most batshit insane, craziest movie I have ever seen, ever. Okay. Oh my god. It is from the producers of Underworld, but and I saw all three of these movies. I think there are 4 now. I didn't see the last one.
Yeah, there are 4.
I didn't see the last one because enough's enough. But and those were already pretty crazy. But I think just from the trailer, it was like, wow, they have outdone themselves. Seriously, it looks crazy.
Yeah, I feel we need to describe it just a little bit for anyone who didn't bother to check it out. Okay, I, Frankenstein starts with a Frankenstein that looks better than Aaron Eckhart does at the end of The Dark Knight.
Yes.
So he's not that monstrous.
I know.
So the monster of Frankenstein is not that monstrous. Going into this big chapel where there's this sort of Bible hanging there, he opens it, says the word Frankenstein, then pops out a silver blade and goes like silver, silver, silver hawk on our asses.
Nobody's gonna get that reference, man.
And then the gargoyles come alive, and they're demons or angels in
We're not
the
sure.
apocalyptic war. I have no idea.
I'm not even sure whose side is who's on. It's crazy. There's human fighting gargoyles who are fighting Frankenstein, who's fighting humans. It's like, it's such a mess.
And then there's some guy who tells him that he is the anointed one who will save the world from the apocalypse or balance the scales of good and evil in the final war or some crap like that.
He will bring balance to the force.
Exactly. And then Sarah from Chuck tells him that he's more human than any human she's ever met. And you're like, well, possibly, because really he's not that monstrous in this version. I know.
It actually looks like, he has a bunch of scars on his face.
Yeah.
Which would think you mean he took like different parts of his face from different bodies. It is really surprising that his face is like also done to look like that good looking,
Well, he took Aaron Eckhart's skull, but took the skin from different people.
Okay, I guess. Yeah.
And was really careful to match the skin tones because besides the stitches, it's exactly the same tone.
Pretty much, yeah.
Frankenstein, he doesn't do shoddy work, say what you will.
No, he doesn't.
The wonders of German engineering.
And just the title, I, Frankenstein? So they're referring to the guy as Frankenstein, I guess.
Yeah, the monster is called Frankenstein, this thing. Which, the more I think about it, it's not that crazy. No. Because he is the creation of Frankenstein, why wouldn't he have the same last name?
Yeah, it's the same last name, I guess. But why didn't you just give him a first name like Chuck or something? Or Billy. Billy Frankenstein. I hate those kinds of movies where you just turn your brain off and you don't enjoy it. No, I don't like that. I like even really, really dumb movies. I like to have my brain on so I can, point at the silly stuff. But this just looks terrible, not silly.
It doesn't look tongue-in-cheek either. The trailer, at least, is selling it as if they're taking this shit so seriously.
The amount of special effects required to pull this movie off, I don't think you would do a tongue-in-cheek movie with that amount of CGI. I mean, it seems like such a waste of money.
Because right now it looks like a video game, is what it does.
Yes, thank you. It really looks like a video game. Level 1, kill 3 of those flying thingies. Level 2, find the Bible. I think it goes back to the debate, are video games art? And like now, video games are trying to be more like movies. And now, I guess they're trying to merge the two. Now, movies are trying to be more like video games to attract both the crowd. I don't know what's happening. It's ridiculous.
It's not untrue, though. I find that screenwriting has become a lot more video game-like in the sense of a lot of movies today seem to move from one set piece to the next the way you move from one big boss to the next, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think what's happening is some of our younger screenwriters are very much into video games, and they sort of bring that aesthetic and that storytelling to the screenplays. And I'm not sure it's and it's not a knock on video games because I feel that the way the video games are going to be art is not through story, it's through immersion.
Yeah.
So I feel that the storytelling of video games being brought to movies is not necessarily a good thing.
No, you're right.
Having said that, I recommend the trailer to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
This thing is hilarious.
Yeah. My God. We don't want to oversell it because they might be expecting something, too much.
Yeah, that's true.
Watch the trailer. It's worth your time. It's worth your 3 minutes.
Yeah, it totally is. Is it worth that other commercial that comes before on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know.
Probably not.
If you want to write us, share with us your love for the trailer of I, Frankenstein. Or actually elaborate on Frankenstein, the 1931 movie. Because I think it's a fascinating movie with a lot of things to be said about it. And I'm not even sure that we scratched the surface.
Yeah,
I know. You can mail us at mail@idiomatic.com or post a comment at idiomatic.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. We are also on iTunes. If you could write us a review or like us on Facebook or both, that'd be great. It would help us get the support to continue generating content on a regular basis. Otherwise, I will have no choice but to throw Nick down a windmill after having removed all his bones, of course.
Where are you going to find a windmill in Canada?